Okay, so we'll go ahead and get started, and as people come in, I will admit them through. So we are recording now. I'm Shannon Osborne. I'm the Assistant Director for Financial Wellbeing in the Student Support and Advocacy Center. So we're very excited for this event and to connect with Mason alumni, just to find out more about what people can expect on their first day on the job, what it's like to transition from getting your degree to first job or graduate school or different things like that. So we also will have these recorded and put on our website, moneysmart.gmu.edu. Afterwards, give us about a week or two until we can get everything up there, but we'll have all the presentation information and recordings there as well. And then if you have any questions throughout the session, just feel free to type it in the chat. I will monitor the chat and read it out to our panelists. So I will pass it over to Michelle, who has been awesome in helping getting this organized.
Hello there, everyone. As Shannon said, my name is Michelle and last name Murphy. I serve as a Senior Assistant Director working with career educational and lifelong learning programs in the Office of Alumni Relations. So we're excited to have the Mason community here today and certainly to hear from our wonderful Mason alumni who are joining us as panelists today. Before we get started with introducing our panelists, if you want to go ahead for everyone here, go ahead and drop in the chat and let us know where you're joining us from. I'm here in Haymarket, Virginia today. So I'd love to see where from, certainly Northern Virginia, or we have Fairfax. If we have people from out of state, even out of the country, perhaps. We certainly have that at different times with different events. So we certainly welcome all of you joining us here today. So as our Mason alumni, as these patriots share their personal and professional stories regarding job searching and what we can expect to hear from. And I will say that, my apologies, but my second monitor just disconnected here. So I just lost my script. Shannon, do you mind if I pass the torch back to you for a second?
No, it's fine. This is what life is like.
This has literally never happened, but it's great. And we're flexible. We improvise, adapt, and overcome, right? So I'm going to tag my teammate.
And then I have a dog barking, so there's that too. I'm going to roll through the dog barking. Okay. So hello and welcome to Transitioning to the Job, a conversation with Mason alumni. It's an event that's part of Money Smart Day, facilitated by George Mason University's Student Support and Advocacy Center, the financial wellbeing team, and supported by various other campus partners like University. Sorry, hold on. The dog.
So sorry about that, everyone. This is gonna be one of those things that we really laugh about, right? Ryan and David and everyone is quite amused as of right now. If you want to drop in the chat the most embarrassing thing that's ever happened to you, go ahead and do that. That's totally fine. All right. So again, thank you for joining us. As we go through and you do have questions, you are welcome to drop those in the chat at any point in time. We will have time for questions at the end, but you can certainly save that for the end, or again, drop it in the chat and we'll address them as we're able. All right, let's go ahead. Again, special thanks for everyone for joining us. I'm excited to hear from and look forward to hearing from our panelists today. Our Mason alumni panel includes Natalia Doma, a senior recruitment manager with DAI, who has over 20 years of experience in international development with a particular focus on recruitment, career development, and mentorship. Then Vandana Kesha Murphy, did I get that correct? Okay, excellent. A fall 2020 graduate currently serving as a data analyst intern with Dewberry and an instructor at Mathnasium, all while pursuing an master's in computer science at Mason. David Rydell, a 2019 graduate with a master's degree in international commerce and policy, currently serving as a management program analyst for the Economic Development Administration in the Department of Commerce. And Ryan Tohill, a recognized community and local government leader with more than 10 years of public sector experience and currently serving as the Senior Vice President at the Alexandria Economic Development Partnership. We'll be asking our panelists a variety of questions. And again, we'll have time at the end for any questions from our audience members. So now it's time to chat with our panelists and hear from them on their particular experiences. I'll go ahead and ask the first question, and then Shannon will ask our second question. So this question is for everyone. If you don't mind, to get us started, briefly introduce yourselves and tell us a little bit about your career and what you are doing now.
Okay, I'll start. Hi, everyone. My name is Natalia Duma, and I'm very, very pleased to be a part of this important panel on this rainy spring day in Washington, D.C. I am a George Mason alumna, 2001 with a master's degree in international commerce and policy. And similar to David, and of course, I found my dream job immediately upon graduation and has been happily working in the international development field now for 23 years, applying many of the knowledge, much of the knowledge I've learned as I was taking this very important international business classes at Mason. I really, so I'm a recruitment manager for a large international development organization. My daily job is to recruit highly technical experts for programs funded by the US government around the world. And of course, I'm a supervisor as well. I manage a team of dynamic recruiters. And of course, I'm always on the lookout for entry-level folks who would be interested in new business and recruitment. So I can talk to the skill sets that I am always looking for entry-level positions.
I'll go ahead and jump in. Hi, Ryan Toohill, here in Alexandria, Virginia today. I work with the Alexandria Economic Development Partnership, which is the City of Alexandria's local economic development agency. And I've worked in Alexandria local government now for 14 years. After I graduated from Mason in 06, I was a government and international affairs major and did my master's in public administration at George Washington. And really looking forward to being here today and talking about getting into your first job and career. I've done some hiring in the positions I've been in, and also we'll talk a little bit about my experience transitioning to a few other positions through the course of my career. So thanks for having me, and look forward to the conversation today.
Happy to go next with that one. Hi, everyone. My name is David Riedel. I am really excited to be here. I recently graduated from George Mason with my master's in international commerce and policy in 2019. For the last year-ish, I've been working with the Department of Commerce in the Economic Development Administration. Getting to there was not a straight line for me. I graduated in 2010 from my undergraduate at University of Virginia. I worked in technology sales for a little while. That really wasn't the best fit for me. So I'm excited to talk about kind of transitioning, talking about it's not always a straight line connecting to the job that you necessarily want to do. And so, yeah, I'm really happy to be here. Excited to speak with you guys today and dive in a little bit further.
Hi, everyone. My name is Vandana, and I'm here from Fairfax, Virginia. I'm a new grad. I just graduated in fall 2020 with an undergraduate degree in computer science. And I actually decided to go back to school at George Mason and continue studying as a graduate student in computer science. And along with that, I'm also interning at Dewberry as a data analyst intern. And last summer, I interned at Northrop Grumman as a software engineering intern. And yeah, I'm excited to be a part of this panel.
Awesome. Thank you to all the panelists. Sorry about that earlier. UPS decided now was a great time to deliver a package. So the dog went crazy. She's away now. But anyway, so we'll go ahead and get started. So For the next question, this is for everybody. Based on your experience as a Mason student, what are some skills or knowledge you learned that you took away from your time here and now utilize either in your career or job search process? So whoever wants to get started first.
I'm happy to kick things off with that one. So I'll divide those into two different buckets for me. Skills that I learned that I utilize in my career and skills that I learned in the job search and kind of career development process, because they are two different avenues that you can walk. So for me, like I had said, I was in technology sales before working at the Department of Commerce and Economic Development. So I really didn't have that basis. So being able to work with Mason and take, at least for me, what was really relevant in terms of those master degree courses were fundamental to me. It's not the only way that one can acquire that experience, but it really laid a groundwork for me to be able to transition into the world of economic development, to the world of kind of policy making decisions as they impact economic development, as they impact commerce. So I think in a broad sense, laying that foundation was really important to me. In a very practical sense, the second bucket for career development, I learned a lot. I worked very closely with my career development services. I actually spoke with Natalia, so I can vouch for how good she is. I learned a number of different techniques. And so a number of those, starting big picture was, it's going to take longer than you think potentially. It's a full-time job during a transition and trying to find a job, and that's okay. That's normal. It takes time. Perseverance is fundamental to it. Talking to people, right? You really building out that network. I had never met Natalia. I was introduced to her via the George Mason network. And that was a perfect example of being able to learn from people that have done it before me. I even met Ryan at another event too. So I feel like I know a lot of these people here just from George Mason facilitating these networks for me. So it's tapping into them and being able to work with them. And George Mason has a number of different resources to tap into those, right? So I want to keep this kind of conversational. Those are a couple of big things that at least started for me. You know, I'd love to hear other panelists to build off of that.
If I may follow up on that, since I am an alumna from the same program as David's, the International Commerce and Policy, my bachelor's is in geography and economic geography. And of course, I needed a master's degree that is more general. I, of course, always was very interested in a career in international development. So, and this is what I got at Mason. Of course, the classes on trade policy, the classes on macro and microeconomics, the classes on international communications, if you remember that, David, the entrepreneurship classes. All that knowledge now I've been applying for 23 years. And of course, I'm a recruiter, which means I am a technical, and not only I'm a recruiter, but I'm a technical recruiter. So basically, I'm looking for highly specialized experts with highly specialized technical experience. So the knowledge I acquired at Mason within the trade policy, the economics, the entrepreneurship helps me find experts, helps me talk to them at the same level, and knowing about their technical area, of course, has greatly helped me find them, and not only find them, but of course attract them to my organization. Now, the second important point here is that I found my first job during my last semester at Mason. And of course, that was an assistant job, right? It wasn't the job I have currently. And I basically took the job. I wanted a job, and of course, the job came up through networks, of course, and I believe Mason professors. I took it, and of course, the advice here, and of course, I grew with the job. I got the job. Of course, I was successful, and my advice here to everyone is, as you're looking for your first job, getting your foot into the door, as everybody says, right? Everybody is familiar with this term. Be flexible, keep an open mind, and of course, once you get the job, please be committed to the job and do an excellent job. before you move to your next career stage?
I can go next. So I think something that has been really valuable for me as a CS student have been all the technical skills that I've been able to learn. I feel like I've been able to learn a really wide array of technical skills, and I think it's important because it allows for more malleability in our potential to learn, which I think is something really valuable for future employers to see. And specifically as a Mason student and my involvement in organizations and teamwork oriented groups like Girls Who Code, or even in my class projects, which were based on teams, I learned so much about collaboration and communication, which so far from what I've seen as an intern, I think is really important in the workplace. So, and that's not something that you can learn from a textbook. So I think that's probably the most important thing.
I'll follow up on that, and I like that phrase, didn't learn in a textbook, because that's the thing that I took away most from Mason was the exposure to people of very diverse backgrounds, whether it's their religion, their race, their creed, where they grew up. I grew up in Southern Virginia, which is not a very diverse area, and my first year at Mason, I was immediately exposed to so many different people with such a broad array of experiences, and being comfortable with that and learning how to be open-minded and accept opportunities to learn helps you not only just grow as a person and be a better person, but it helps you be a better teammate, a better employee, a better leader. And so really encourage everyone that keep that open-mindedness as you go into your next career, because you never know who you're going to bump into and meet and learn something from, and that's really, really valuable. And especially in this area where we live, which is just so diverse, and there's so many just ongoing opportunities for you to develop as a professional and as a person. I just encourage everyone to embrace that.
Yeah, can I add to that? Sorry, I know I already went. I might be breaking the rules here, but I wanted to add something that Mason definitely taught me in talking with people like Natalia and like Ryan is that as you're starting off, it can be very intimidating, and it can seem like I don't know where I fit, I don't know how I go. But really by talking to people like this and coming to these types of events, you really learn, wow, other people are doing the type of work that I'm interested in doing. In really kind of being fearless in that. You're not going to know everything going in on the first day. That's normal. Everyone feels that way. You don't need to be an expert in what you're going into. You need to be willing to learn and willing to grow in it. And so I know having conversations with students at Mason with career services, that really helped to reinforce that message that people are on a similar path and a similar goal, and they felt similar things to me. And people do it every day, right? And so you guys will be able to too.
Wonderful. I love that. Thank you all so much for sharing your experiences and the things that you learned and how you took that into the different roles that you've had and currently have. Absolutely. Next, I'd like to this question specifically is for Vandana, but if anyone else, has some different things that they'd like to share on this, please do. But Vandana, as a recent graduate, how has the pandemic impacted the process in which you decided what was next for you post-graduation from your undergraduate degree, and what was the job search process like for you?
Yeah, so like I said, I graduated in December of 2020, and I feel like I was almost cut short of my experience at Mason because everything was moved online. My internship in the summer was moved online, and I graduated early as well. So I think the pandemic and everything moving remote really solidified my decision to continue going back to school and continuing my studies in graduate school in computer science. I thought I would just be able to gain more experience hands-on in the classroom and by interning part-time or in the summer as well. And as far as the job search process, it was difficult, but I tried to really focus on applying locally to local companies and to companies that Mason focuses on. Like I know for the tech world, employers like Deloitte and Northrop Grumman target Mason students. They have on-campus interviews, or well, now it's on virtual interviews. And yeah, that's what I would say. And also, I think probably something else that's really valuable are going to networking events. There's so many offered just through Handshake through George Mason, but also aside from that, things like Women in Technology or things like that that maybe I wouldn't have been able to go to if we were in person. Now I found that I'm able to squeeze these things into my day every day, and there I'm able to network with employers and people like me who are searching for jobs, and then you can make new connections and reach out to them on LinkedIn, and you never know where an opportunity may be. So I think that's kind of a silver lining. And yeah.
Thank you. That's definitely great advice. David, you interviewed for a position prior to the start of the pandemic, however, started during COVID. Can you describe how your work experience has been during this time, particularly your first day with like remote working and everything like that, and just that adjustment to everything?
Yeah, so it has definitely been different than I expected it to be. So it was funny, I started working for the federal government right before the pandemic hit. And the federal government has a lot of forms, a lot of processes, a lot of steps that you have to take to be able to start working there. So I went in, and part of it is a security check, and they have to do kind of fingerprints. And I went in on, I don't remember, like March something, say it's a Tuesday. On Wednesday, they closed the entire building, like everything shut down. So it was a very different experience than I was expecting it to be. And my first day was very much so nerve-wracking. Didn't quite know what to expect, didn't know who I was going to be talking to at what time. And so what I tried to do was manage up to the best I could. So the contact that I had, I reached out to them and said, what time should I expect to be ready? Who should I expect to hear from? What time? And in what way? Where do I need, like online, where do I need to be? What system are they using for me to get ready? And so to that degree, it was just trying to, exactly in the chat, be proactive and understand what my first day would look like. Also trying to understand what types of forms, what types of things should I start getting ready for the onboarding process. And upon asking that question, there were times where they said, wait for them to come and give it to you. So I knew to wait. And then there were times they said, go and work on this. And I could be proactive in getting ahead on that. I've been 100% virtual, right? So I funny enough, started working in an apartment in Arlington, and since then have moved out, right? So I've moved a little bit farther out of the city and have transitioned from places physically. It takes a lot more effort than being in the office. I feel like everyone that's doing the job search process right now, there's so much more intentionality that has to come with the connection aspect, especially being a new person. And so for me, I made a point for once I met my boss, I said, hey, who can you introduce me to? Right. And use them to get me to meet more people. And then I would set up virtual coffees. Hey, if we take 15 minutes and at 10:30, I'm gonna grab some coffee, you grab some coffee, we'll talk. And let me learn about what you do. How did you get here? Where are you looking to go? What does your job literally do? Who's your team? Who can you introduce me to? And so you keep building this network out, but you really have to be proactive about it. And it's been, difficult because I've had to meet the entire team virtually. I've had to meet bosses virtually. I've had to do performance reviews virtually. So I feel like it's very similar to an interview, doing it virtual, and everyone's going through it, right? Like literally the entire world is doing this, and not knowing how to do it, I feel like is normal, and trying to wing it a little bit and improvise, like Natalia and everyone has said so far. So yeah, it's definitely been different. It's definitely been an adjustment process, and just staying flexible with it. And so let's see. There's a question in the chat here. What kind of advice would you give to someone in the humanities looking for work as well? Bachelor's in history and bachelor's in German. Okay, I think Natalia might be able to better answer that question. I don't want to speak for her, but yeah, I'll wrap up on mine, at least saying that the virtual experience has definitely been in practice and adaptation and flexibility.
Just adding to David, if I may, before I respond to the question. jobs change, right? And the COVID time is an excellent example of how job changes, career changes, job change, requirements for job change as organizations adapt to new realities, remote work, the future of work, COVID work, post-COVID work. All these factors come into play in new jobs, new positions, and new skill sets. So let me talk a little bit about the skill sets that large organizations, and of course I'm using my organization as an example, or an international organization, but just to give you this perspective that the future of jobs or current jobs are not comprised, they do not comprise of one skill set, right? These are usually multidisciplinary skill sets that recruiters or hiring managers are looking for. And using that bucket, the buckets of skill sets, if I want to just organize all these skills in different buckets. So why organizations or large organizations looking for someone with multidisciplinary skill sets? Because they like to grow their own talent. Once they hire at the entry level, they really have great interest to keep that person within the organization, and perhaps that mobility within internal mobility within organization is very important, and is done pretty much by all large organizations. But in order for an organization to ensure this mobility, you need to hire the right skill sets, right? So so here are the skill sets, a very basic organization of the skill sets. The first skill set or set of skills is the technical skill set. So basically, what is the job if you're looking, if an organization is looking for an agricultural scientist, basically you need to have a degree in agriculture, right? If an organization is looking for an economist, obviously you need to have a bachelor's or master's in economics. That would be the core technical skill set as a job requirement, right? Then a second bucket of skill sets is the transferable skill sets or skill set. Basically, these are the skills that an individual can transfer from position to position to position. And what are examples of these transferable skills? Let's say those would be the generalist skills. Let's say each organization has marketing or business development or project management. I would say business development is one of these transferable skill sets. Project management, knowing how to manage a project, knowing the basic tools to manage a project, Excel, accounting, so on and so forth. Operations, that will be another transferable skill set that you can take from position to position to position. And that will, of course, enrich your experience or your sell marketability within the market space, right? And then the third bucket would be the soft skills, right? And what do we think of soft skills? These are the ability to communicate. If you're working for an international organization, of course, language abilities. An organization working in Latin America obviously will require fluency in Spanish. Same for West Africa, they'll require French language skills and so on and so forth. Then, of course, adding to the soft skill set is the ability to work together towards a goal in a team environment, right? Large organizations, they usually work in teams. So can you commit to a task? Can you work within a team effectively? Can you, of course, work against the deadline and so forth, so on and so forth. So these are three buckets of examples of different skill sets that comprise I guess a multidisciplinary skill requirement that large organizations are looking for. Now, the last point I would like to make, these skill sets need to find place on your CV. Right, so as you are researching organizations, as you're looking at their positions they're hiring for, you will see those skill sets. You know, you'll see the technical core skills that are required, then you'll see the transferable skill sets, you'll see the soft skill sets, and of course your resume or your CV needs to show all these skills across the different points across your professional experience. Now, to your question, how to find a job within the humanities field, what would you like to do? You know, have an open mind, right? If international development is of interest, research the international development firms that work for the USA, for the US government funded projects such as USAID. You know, a degree in humanity would work very well within many of the requirements for, let's say, international development job. So it's just what you make of your degree.
Wonderful. Thank you, Natalia. Ryan, did you have anything to share on kind of those important skills that recruiters and employers are looking for as well?
Yeah, so one big one that I always look for when I hire, and I've had the opportunity to hire quite a few people right out of undergrad or out of like their master's program, and that's just the ability. It's critical thinking skills. It's the ability to work on teams and solving kind of complex problems, right? So you're coming right out of school, you're excited, everything, you know, you've got the whole career ahead of you. There's a lot that you're not going to know right away. And so it takes time to build that experience, to build, you know, to learn some of those skills that Natalia was just talking about. And so, as David was saying, it can be a little nerve-wracking, but just as long as you can continue to try to take opportunities to learn, apply some of those critical thinking skills, some of those soft skills, you know, being able to collaborate, work on a team, you know, be a contributor. Those are things that help you not only kind of build your reputation within your organization, but they also allow you to learn, right? So you know, I had a project, an economic development project, a rather large one here in the DC region, and we were very short staffed, and we had to pull in a young woman to work on our team who hadn't done a big project like this, but she knew how to do research. She knew how to write, you know, a concise, you know, memo. She knew how to, she was organized, detail oriented. All these things were really, really important. And the two other pieces that I look for when I recruit are that ability to kind of demonstrate grit. So when things get weird or wacky, or the project isn't going right, or it gets hard, you learn to be flexible, you adapt, you overcome, you continue to be that contributor, and kind of taking those creative risks. So, you know, a good boss will give you enough, you know, that runway to make your own decisions and fail even a little bit. And that's always, I always look for people who are willing to take those creative risks, you know, and even if they don't work out, we can learn from them, than someone who's just so afraid to do anything or has to have everything spelled out. So those are just some of the things that I look for. And you know, maybe you can't take a course for all that kind of stuff. I think David would agree that, you know, a lot of that's on the job training. So it's that kind of being open-minded, being willing to fail a little bit, and not, you know, yeah, and go home, be disappointed with yourself for a night, but get up the next day and get back in there, you know, get back into the arena.
Yeah, can I add to that? Because I really like what people have said thus far is, and I would say, I wouldn't try and limit yourself by having or not having technical skills. I wouldn't have that be the driving factor in your presentation. Now, if you're trying to be a heart surgeon, please have the technical skills, right? I'm not trying to be a heart surgeon. And I think if Ryan and I were to talk about economic development, we would describe two different things probably. We would have totally different projects. We might have a number of similarities, but you say, okay, well, what technical skills do you need for economic development, as an example? That's a wide berth, right? You can angle that in many different ways. I did international commerce and policy, but in working in economic development, there's overlap. And so like Ryan was talking about, having creative, like critical thinking in that, don't feel like you're limited because you haven't done every single course in economic development, for my example, right? I think being able to show that you can demonstrate that you have done work either in an academic sense or in a professional sense is fundamental. right? It doesn't have to exactly be economic development on economic development, or it doesn't have to be international commerce on international commerce. It's more presenting the overall picture, right, of your person. And so I think I fell into that trap many times when I would look at, I don't have technical skills. Well, that's not true. You certainly do. You have graduated, you've studied, you can demonstrate that you have done the things you can do at a job. A lot of my job is project management. A lot of my job is, how do I sit and figure this out, right? You don't know everything, and that's normal.
If I may say, project management and new business is the other transferable skill that many companies are looking for. New business, ability to write to a certain scope of work is priceless. Ability to write is a quality that many different jobs would take, and it's a very valuable skill to have. And the project management, thank you, David, is another excellent transferable skill that corresponds to, that would fit many jobs. Yeah.
Just to wrap up this question, there's a kind of a question in the chat of, are there any online resources that come to mind that will help in enhancing these skills that we're talking about? Do you recommend checking out those LinkedIn training courses?
This is good, checking the LinkedIn courses, but I would say that comes to networking, and that comes to the path towards getting the job, right? So to me, it's more like the networking piece of it. Knowing, just researching first the organization you would be interested in working for, and of course, then shortlisting, I would say 3 to 4 companies that you like. And of course, keeping track of what jobs they're hiring for. And of course, looking at the requirements within each of the positions that's on their career page, and trying to learn, what does that mean, right? What a monitoring and evaluation skill set means. And then perhaps looking at the online resources or courses. I would take that in a more practical aspect of getting to the job, basically networking one-on-one with fellow alumni or anyone, or networking at industry events, right? Pick your industry, pick an industry you like. They have industry events, annual events. They have, of course, quarterly, monthly meetings. They have general career types of networking events. And all this combined, I think, will lead you to first to the organizations, and then secondly to what kind of jobs they're looking for, who they're hiring, and what are the skills they're looking for. And then once you kind of organize yourself and have a goal of a few organizations, a few positions, then you look at your skill sets, then you tailor, right? We say tailor your CV towards the jobs they're advertising. And of course, once you apply to the jobs, then also you try to find connections within the organization, so you can market yourself and just make sure that the hiring manager who is responsible for reviewing the CVs don't forget about your CV when it's in the application box.
Definitely, really good point about tailoring the CV too to fit to the job that you're applying for, because I think that's something that they look at as well. Going on to the next question. Generally speaking, may you describe what the onboarding process looks like on the first day on the job? What are some things that employees may receive or need to be prepared for? What can we start thinking about now that employees may ask for that first day when we show up?
So just a few thoughts. Shocker, you're going to be on a Zoom call. You're not going to be sitting around the water cooler yet, probably, if you're looking at the next 6 months or so. So just be prepared that it's going to be a lot of virtual experiences. Our hiring manager at AEDP sends out everything in advance. There's an employment packet. that every employee is going to that they should get. And then what we try to do in our organization is do those kind of soft networking, socializing events, all again virtual, so that new employees can kind of check in with everyone, get to know the team. So I guess I would say if you don't see that happening, don't be afraid to ask about that. I like David's idea of making the connections and doing the virtual coffees. That's everyone has learned how to do this now. Even the people who hated doing it, like doing anything virtually or with technology, they have to do it now. So you have kind of a captive audience at this point. So I would make those connections and reach out to folks.
Yeah, I would add to that in terms of kind of going pretty logistical here. On the first day, I would very much so try and clarify, right? So in Ryan's organization, they'll send out the documents before, ask, right? What do you think, or what should I be prepared for on day one? What do you need me to bring? What do you need me to have ready? What will my first day look like, right? Asking those questions is very fair. And I think it's a fair expectation to put on the organization as well, that they should be prepared for you when you come in and you're not expected to know what that process looks like. Again, going very kind of granular, there's going to be a bunch of forms they need to fill out. There's going to be HR processes that need to be filled out. So there's going to be kind of personal information that you're either going to need to be ready to bring or have. And in this virtual environment, right, you'll be able to send that virtually. You won't have to bring it into the office per se. I think on top of that is on your first day, unless they tell you exactly what's going to happen, bank on it being kind of them trying to figure out how to integrate you, right? So it might not be very organized, it might not be structured, and that's okay. That's very normal. Mine, I didn't even know what time I was going to get a call from my boss on my first day, right? So I was just sitting in my computer at 9 a.m. waiting, and I did ask those questions. What time should I be ready? 9 a.m. Okay, I'll be waiting. It took an hour for them to call me, but they called me, right? So it might be disorganized, and that's normal. But I think it's very fair to be active in asking those questions. What should I have? What should I expect? Where should I be?
If I may add, first days of in a new role, it's also a lot of training in different internal systems and processes. So also, in addition to filling the forms, and actually the first days on the job are perfect days to fill all the forms that need to be filled, the insurance, health insurance forms, 401k kind of contributions and anything like that, because when things get busy, then you won't have time to fill all these forms. But again, the training in IT training, then of course pre-COVID time, lunch with your boss. Hopefully those will come back at some point. Of course, addressed by the CEO. Companies do that. Hopefully those will be those will come back in person post-COVID as well. So there are fun photos, pictures taken as a group or individual pictures. So all these exciting things happen as part of the onboarding process, and hopefully we'll see that in person soon. Back soon, yeah.
Absolutely. And each organization is going to be a little bit different, as we can see, from our panelists here. There are certainly similarities, and then you're going to, and some things might be a little bit more free flowing at different organizations. Some things are going to be a little bit more structured. I know when I brought on a new team member last year, pre-COVID, and even now for our particular department, even during the pandemic, when we brought on new team members, their first few weeks are pretty structured. The training is identified, whether that's through HR or different specific training that our department on different systems and platforms that we have available. And then in addition, we've set up meetings for them as well. If you ever get in a situation where you are setting those up, also give time for breaks, or even ask for time for breaks, because it's a lot of information, to certainly, because you're going to want to have that time to think about, to look over the health insurance, if you have options, and see which one you should pick and different things like that. But you definitely want to, you can be an information overload. So it's okay to pause and make sure that certainly you're taking care of yourself, but also that you're digesting that information as it's coming to you. We have one last question that we have, and we'll address some of the questions that have come through chat if we haven't already. Is there a best piece of advice that you'd share with someone who is currently going through a job search process based on your experience? And this is kind of to everyone.
I'll be short. I'll say it takes many months, not a few weeks. Just be prepared that the job search may take up to 7-8 months. It's a process. So just go through the process, don't give up. And as I mentioned earlier, take the first opportunity. Don't be afraid to take it, and you will make it a career. Hopefully that would make a career for you. Be flexible, be adaptable. And of course, I did mention about the whole networking piece that is as important in career searches, but it takes time. It takes time to just work on your CV. It takes time to do and take part in all this industry and networking events. It takes time to explore organizations and potential fit, but all this effort will really bring you a good job and opportunity.
I was just gonna say, like, I just want to emphasize networking. Like, try your best to be outgoing and communicative with everyone that you meet. Going to panels like this and other networking events is really important. So yeah, just keep trying your best and it'll be fine.
I'll say two things. One is the best career advice I ever got was when I was working in a job in the city of Alexandria and thinking about transitioning to another department, and was being recruited to go over there and wasn't really thrilled about it because it didn't have a great reputation, and the field wasn't really what I was looking for. And my boss, who eventually I worked for and who became one of my best bosses, said at one point, sometimes you don't find your career finds you. And so it's about, as Natalia was just saying, it's about being open to opportunities. Everything that's on a job description is what the ideal candidate is supposed to be. That ideal candidate does not exist. They don't have everything. There's no one that has everything. So take a risk if you see something that's of interest and you have 8 of the 10 things you're interested in. Great, that's terrific. Don't worry about those other 2. You'll find a way to work yourself out of that over time and as you grow in your career. So just kind of, I would say that, and then also think about your story. What's your personal brand? What do you want? What do you say to somebody the first thing that you meet? Who is Ryan Toohill? What does he do for a living? What does he love outside of work? This is all part of your personal brand. And the first thing that, and we're all guilty of it, even if we don't want to say it, the first thing we do when we meet somebody in a recruiting session is we go on Google and we Google their name and try to figure them out, right? And if you have an active LinkedIn page that shows that, tells that personal and professional story, talks about the outcomes that you've achieved, whether it's through school or work or community service or in your religious organization, those are all things that are really, really important that help build that brand. So be open-minded and work on telling your story. And then those opportunities will start to present themselves and you'll be ready to jump at them versus kind of being in that constant reactive mode.
Man, I couldn't agree with all of those more. I made 3 notes here. I'm going to go from kind of more practical to higher level idea first. Rely on Mason. They are a network. They have built out connections already. So work with career services to review your resume, right? work with alumni relations or alumni services like today to see who is in Mason's alumni network, right? Use those resources. I did. That is, yeah, 200,000 plus alumni. Go talk with alumni relations. One thing that was great for me is, like Natalia mentioned earlier, I made a short list of companies I was interested in. I went to alumni relations and I said, who works at these companies that went to Mason? And they provided me a list of people and they facilitated an introduction, right? Find out a way that you can do that. That is very normal. Okay, great. Michelle's right there. Contact Michelle, right? Use those resources. And it's not just career services, professors, fellow students, right? Try to meet them, try to talk to them. You have support resources there that can help you. Second, I know that COVID really messes up a lot of traditional networking events. When I was applying to jobs, networking events, honestly, were one of the smaller things that I would do. I was on the phone every other day with people because people couldn't meet with me, right? It's almost easier to catch people now because they're online. Is that the ideal way that I would want to do it? No. But can you still make progress in this day and time? Yes, you can. You all are very smart people. You're studying at Mason. That's not an easy thing to do. Use the resources, right? If you work with alumni relations, you get contact information, get an introduction, have a phone call. That works just as well. And it can be a very informal conversational thing. You can still do a lot to move the needle now, right? So please don't feel like you have no hope. That's not true at all. There's a lot of things you can do. My last thing builds on that, which is advocate for yourself, right? I've heard a lot of people ask about, I don't have technical skills, or I don't have this fit, or what should I do with that fit? It's really easy to self-select out, to look at something and say, no, I don't fit. Advocate for yourself. You can do much more than you think you can. Like Ryan said, I love it. That perfect candidate doesn't fit, or doesn't exist, right? So advocate for yourself. Build up that story. Use Mason to help you tell that story. You know, that was really important to me, and that really helped me in my job search process.
Wow, amazing advice. And this is totally not planned, but David, Alumni Relations actually has a session in May by another Mason alumni that's advocating for yourself in a virtual world, how to stand out. So everyone is welcome. So the entire Mason community. So anyone here, and certainly tell your friends. So we certainly appreciate that tee up, David. Well, we did want to make sure, I think there is one question here from that we have in the chat. And I'll start by, the question is sort of like, are any of your companies hiring interns for human resources? One thing I will say is definitely University Career Services is a lifelong career center at Mason. So both open to current students and our alumni. And it is, you know, for everyone that I just mentioned, currently free to you. So, you know, make sure that you are utilizing those resources to the best of your ability, whether it's events, whether it's career fairs, Handshake, which is the job search capability. So they have full-time, part-time, and internship opportunities on there. Certainly, if any of you, if your companies have those type of internships or things available, let us know. But just wanted to throw that out there and do a good plug for my great colleagues who are doing great work in career services. Does anybody else have anything that they would like to share there?
I was just going to add too that, as you mentioned, even if for alumni to use it for free, but I had put in the chat, you can send them your CV and resume, and you can send them the job description of the job you're looking to apply for, and they can help you tailor it. And they can give you advice on, you really should move this up here, you really should expand that. They're willing and able to help you adjust your CV and resume, which I think it's an amazing service that they provide for free to all Mason students and alumni.
And here shortly, they are going to be doing career launch. So certainly a lot of times for those who are about to graduate, that is something, a variety of panels and workshops that might appeal most to those of you who are attending that might want to look into those, but they are open to everyone. So a variety of different events that will just help you launch your career in the best way possible. Does anyone have any additional questions? I think we addressed all of those. If I don't see anything here dropped in chat, I do just want to thank our panelists for an excellent conversation. We certainly appreciate your time, knowledge, and for you sharing your expertise with us today. I certainly know that I took a lot out of it, and I appreciate that. And I know our attendees are taking a lot of useful information as well away. On behalf of SSAC, University Life, and the Office of Alumni Relations here at Mason, we certainly thank you so much to all of our panelists for being willing to participate in this event. Truly a special conversation. For all of you joining us today, if you have any follow-up questions, Shannon, if you don't mind dropping your email in there, and then I will drop alumni@gmu.edu, but I also dropped my email up above. We look forward to seeing you virtually and also sometime future in person at another financial well-being event. And again, our alumni events are always open. If you just look at alumni.edu, .gmu.edu and look on our events calendar, you can find a variety of different programs and events that are open. So thank you so much to everyone. I'm not seeing any additional questions. So Shannon, did you have any last minute things that you wanted to say about?
No, just thank you for attending. We do have one more session later today that we're going to talk about independent versus dependent on taxes, and independent versus dependent on the FAFSA, and really what that means for relationships too, on how do you become independent. And that will kind of wrap up our day, but we thank you for attending, and Michelle kind of put some alumni information in there as well too. And thank you both to the panelists. You guys are awesome, and I know it's a rainy day, but you pushed through to the end, so we really appreciate it. You guys can feel free to sign off, but we'll hang around. So if you guys have questions, you definitely can type them in or turn on your microphone and ask the question too. But if you're all good to go, you can sign off as well too.
Thank you again, everyone.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you. Have a great night, everybody.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you, guys.
Just wanted to say thank you.
You are most welcome.
Thanks, everyone. Bye-bye.
Thanks, Natalia.
To answer your question, Martha, yes, this is part of Student Support and Advocacy Center. I'm on the financial wellbeing team, and I work in the Student Support and Advocacy Center. So this whole event today with Money Smart Day, but is part of SAC, but we couldn't have done it without the various departments around campus. Michelle's from Alumni, and we partnered really close with Alumni as well to make this happen. So that's the one thing I love about working with Mason, is we partner different departments together to make these events happen. That's a great question too, of when you know is a good time to ask for help, or when to try to do it on your own. I would say from my own experience too, I often try to do too much on my own, and it's okay to ask for help. It's okay to ask for questions. I wish that I would have known about University Career Services at my alma mater beforehand too, because I just didn't realize they were a good tool even after I graduated. And then the connection, like David said, utilizing alumni as well too. That's amazing to connect with Michelle and say, you know, I'm getting a degree in this, I'm looking for this field. Are there any alumni in this field? And she can send you a list of people to connect with, because that networking is so good. So I would say, don't do it alone. Utilize the resources that Mason has for you, because they're amazing resources even after you graduate as well. I don't know if you want to add to that too, Michelle.
For me, yeah, absolutely. I think so often we think that we can handle everything on our own. And as Shannon said, you know, I'm someone who, and I graduated a while ago. I won't totally age myself, but you know, I didn't know the gem that career services was. And so when I think now about, you know, I mean, my path was my path, right? And it's what I was supposed to do. And you know, I think like David said, there is no straight line. So I did a variety of different things, but I also think that had I gone in and asked the questions, whether you know exactly what you want to do or you have no idea. They have both industry advisors and both career counselors or career advisors to kind of help you explore what you want out of a career. And so what those different types of opportunities might be. And so whether it's asking for help there, whether it's utilizing your network, and there's a variety of people within your network. You know, certainly there's the Mason network. You have friends and family, you know, people that you meet at different points in time, people, you know, if you're involved in different organizations, those people are within your network as well. So it's always exploring that. You know, I just realized that one of my best friends came to our LinkedIn workshop that we did recently. And then she was like, how are we not connected on LinkedIn? And I'm like, I don't know, but you know, so and it's always something you always want to continue to grow that network, because you never know who might be able to assist in something that you're looking for or looking to do moving forward. Any additional questions that we can help answer today? All right. Well, thank you everyone so much for joining us. And I guess with that, we'll go ahead and end.